Hola, it's Besta and Steve here at the end of our 5th week in Portugal. Thank you for watching. This week we went out and got several new perspectives on our city of Lisbon.
We did. We took the opportunity to do some traveling outside of our neighborhood. We crossed the river to get a new perspective of Lisbon, and even took a bus trip over to the west coast of the country.
We did. So we'll be sharing all of those new perspectives with you here. Thank you for watching. So it's the end of our 5th week here in Lisboa, and it is Easter weekend. And so it's a really big deal in Portugal.
It is. There are Easter markets, which are really cool. We had a chance to walk through some of those. A lot of businesses are closed from Good Friday until Sunday. And we've even seen some events that are religious ceremonies walking through the streets that we don't know that much about.
Right, absolutely. But Easter weekend, Easter, the holiday, is the biggest holiday of the year here in Portugal. It's a very Catholic country. We've enjoyed sort of seeing all of that happening around us. And, of course, being respectful and participating when we can.
Yeah, it's been a really cool way to kind of see how the local Portuguese live and how they celebrate. And I know the churches are packed this weekend with all kinds of events going on. And we smell some amazing food cooking as well outside.
Right. And we tried some of the special Easter treats and pastries and breads and things that they're selling. So it's been a lot of fun. We're talking about new perspectives on Lisboa this week. We've been here long enough now that we thought, let's try some new things. One of the things we did was the weather has turned really nice. It's springtime here, starting to turn. Still some cool patches, of course, as we make that transition. We opened up the windows a number of times. It's been wonderful, the breezes that just travel right through the apartment.
Yes, and of course, we were in Florida before we came here, so we're used to that oppressive heat all the time. So it's been a really nice change of pace for us, and the apartment's so comfortable. And one thing that has surprised me is how hot the sun is here. We were warned about that, and we're like, oh, we're from Florida. It's not going to be a big deal, but it really, there is a lot of heat. It's like this dry heat they always talk about.
We do feel it. And one thing with the windows open is sometimes a few flies will come in. And I have to tell you that I have learned that I have a special talent I didn't know I had.
It is. I will catch it on video at some point.
I can get the flies to leave the house. I have this special thing. And I'll tell you what I do. I have to make these certain sounds. I will wave my arms at them and move them toward the window and go, whoa, 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 whoa. It works. It works.
It works. It's weird, but it works.
Anyway, that's enough of that. But we did travel across the Tagus River, the big river, of course, here that comes in off the ocean where Lisbon is situated. There's a ferry that travels across the water like every 15 or 20 minutes. It was really inexpensive, and we got there in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and what we did is we just took the regular transportation, like the same ticket we used for our Metro card, we were able to use on this. So it's like a €1.50 or so, maybe a little bit more to get across the river. It's a 10-minute ride, and then suddenly you're in this historic area called Calcelius, which is an old port. There's a lot of really cool ruins over there, and we just kind of took the day to explore what it had to offer, and amazing vantage point of the city of Lisbon.
Absolutely. So what we found immediately was, we had been up on the overlooks all around Lisboa. It's wonderful that you can get this perspective and sort of going up. Lisbon is built on 7 hills famously, and you can go up on all these hills, and there's these overlooks, miraduros as they're called, where you can look over the city. It reminds me sort of like when you visit New York City and you go up in the Empire State Building and you look over the city, and suddenly you get a different perspective of the city. You can sort of see the pattern of the streets and how it's laid out. There's Central Park. I feel like that here, but a perspective we hadn't gotten was from across the river, looking back, and can see Lisbon sort of spread out across the hills. It really changed my feeling about the city.
It made me feel like it was bigger than I had in my head. I always thought of it as elevated rather than expanded. And now I see that it's both. And to your point, we could stand over there, we could point to overlooks and monuments and things that we had gone to see. And it was just a really neat perspective. And I kept thinking of like these amazing sailing ships and fishermen who are coming back in. And this is what they see when they come back. It's amazing.
So it's wonderful. So if you come to Lisboa and you have the chance to jump on the ferry, we went over to Calcelius, as we said. And over there's also some really cool things. Historically, there's a famous lighthouse and some sailing vessels.
There's a frigate called the D. Fernando II Glória. It is the last sailing vessel that the Portuguese Navy had, and it was commissioned in the 1840s and eventually turned into kind of like a naval school for boys, and was used in that way before it was actually in a fire and sunk into the Tagus River in the 1960s. It was eventually revived and restored in the 90s, and now it's this amazing museum you can walk through and see what it was like to be a sailor during those days.
What I loved about it is that you hear these famous stories of the Portuguese explorers. They were the most influential place in the world at one time as they're going out and they're sailing around Africa, going to the West Indies, bringing back spices and treasures and all kinds of things. I love reading those stories. But you try to imagine, what was it like being on those small little ships that were so famous, very nimble little ships. Anyway, you have the ability, if you go across the river, to stand on one of them. They can go down underneath and see what it was like under there.
Yeah, we went down to the 2 lower decks, and they've done such an incredible job of representing what life would be like on that during the time of this sailing vessel's time at sea. And again, this was a warship, but it was also used to transport passengers. So they have a little section for that. And the deeper I went, the lower the ceiling got, which was interesting. But they also had these, mannequins set up to kind of show how the ship worked, and lots of really cool, interesting pieces of information, both in Portuguese and in English. So we were thankful for that. And we spent, a good hour and a half, 2 hours there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're someone like me that loves to imagine being on the high seas with the wonderful Portuguese sailors, you get the chance to actually get a feeling of what that was like. It was a great experience. Also, next to it, there was a submarine.
Yes, there's a Cold War submarine, which is docked right next door in dry dock, that you can actually go in. But it just always reminds me how tight the quarters are and how special of a person you have to be in order to serve on a sub like that. There's no way I could.
The city of Almada is over there as well. We did had a wonderful meal there. We were there for Steve's birthday last weekend. Had a wonderful meal, walked up and down a lot of the hills, ended up at another overlook, which is really famous. And then we went down the stairs to where there's a famous restaurant located.
There is a very famous restaurant, and what you can do is it's the Point Final, I believe is how you say it, Ponte Final, and it has a little pier that goes out into the water where you can actually reserve a table and sit right next to the water, hear the Tagus River slapping against the concrete. Beautiful views of the April 25th bridge, and we were there, just got some really cool video and really great shots.
And our tutor, Lucio, mentioned to us that in order to get that table right there on the point, you have to reserve that well over a month in advance. So it's a very popular spot, very romantic, but plan ahead if you want to get one of those special tables. So one of the other things we did was we went out and experienced a little bit of nightlife. We had heard about the Barro Alto area, which has all the nightclubs and everything. We sort of did that one night. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to sort of be out. We weren't out late for us, everybody, but we still went out and went to a couple clubs, and it was nice.
It was very nice, and everybody we ran into was very kind. I was able to have a Portuguese English conversation with a gentleman we met while we were out and about, and it was just really kind of cool to see how the streets change personalities. During the day, there are these winding, quiet streets that go up these hills, and at night it was just bars and nightclubs and people and music and a lot of energy, which was really neat to see.
Yeah, we met a friend there who mentioned to us that, at 9:00 p.m., there may be 50 people on the street. And by midnight, it's going to be 1,000 people filling the street. So it's a very, very popular night spot. Lots of things like photo restaurants and clubs and all kinds of things. So if you want to get into the nightlife scene, that is the place to do that. We experienced a little bit of it.
Yeah, we did not make it to midnight, so we didn't see the big crowds. It's just not what we do.
No, absolutely not. Now, we did take a trip felt like we got another perspective on Lisboa by going to Alcobaça. The wonderful people at Portugal The Place invited us to come up, showed us around the town, took us on some sightseeing, and we saw some wonderful things in a smaller Portuguese, sort of smaller town. Yes. Gave me a different perspective on my city as well.
It did. We're so used to the hustle and bustle and crowds of Lisbon. When we went to Alcobaça, it's a much slower pace. It's much more rural to get there. We saw a lot of farms and old villages on our way out there, which was beautiful, that we could see on this Flixbus that was like, I don't know, seven euro a piece.
Yeah,
it's
ridiculously really cheap and very comfortable.
Yeah, and it only took us an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes to get there, which was great. And again, Colleen at Portugal The Place was fantastic. She was our rapid fire tour guide. In a day and a half, we saw a ton of sites. The historic monastery, the tombs of Pedro and Inês. I mean, which we're going to do some more videos about. There is just so much over there to see. And then we had a chance to actually go see the coast from the cliffs perspective, which I know you loved.
Yeah, well, I'm not great with heights, but it was quite amazing. We went to the famous city of Nazaré, which is famous worldwide now for their giant waves.
Yes.
And surfers from all over the world come there. Now, the main surfing time ends at the end of March, so we were not seeing the huge waves. We'll be doing that next season. But it was wonderful. Colleen took us up to the top where there's an overlook, and you can see the city of Nazaré down below and the beach and everything from top. And then we went down and we saw where we were up on the overlook.
Yes, and I don't love heights, but they don't bother me quite as much as they do you. But you get up there and you look and you just realize how far down that beach is. And then when we did go down and look up, we're like, holy cow, we were really, really far up there. And the history around the place was really fascinating. And Colleen was a wealth of information to tell us about that, which of course I loved. And souvenir shops, you got yourself a really cool new hat. And we just had a really wonderful time the entire time. We were exhausted when we got home, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and of course, wonderful, wonderful Portuguese food
Gosh.
that I'm falling in love with. I had something called chicken in a pot, basically, that was just the most amazing thing, which was very historic. Apparently, it's this little tavern there in Alcobaça has been serving this for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's like their famous dish. And I got to tell you, it was incredible. So thank you to Colleen and Clyde and everybody at Portugal The Place for hosting us. We had a wonderful time. We'll be doing more with them and about them and more about these wonderful sites later on.
Because we just put our toe in the water in a lot of these locations just to kind of get introduced. So there's a lot of history to learn, and I cannot wait to bring that to you.
And this is one of the things we're planning to do, and hopefully you can join along on some of those journeys with us, is we want to go to all these wonderful little historic cities and towns and sites and bring those stories to you and share those travels. So we're really looking forward to doing that.
Yes, it's one of the great benefits of living here in Lisbon. There's history all around us. We're living our lives, doing our thing, doing our laundry, grilling outside, but we're also going out and having these amazing experiences, and we're thrilled to have you along.
So thank you so much for watching. End of week 5. We're going to be talking about lots of other topics, transportation, and more things that we're learning and about the city. If you have questions or ideas, please put them in the comments or contact us and let us know so that we know what you'd like to hear us talk about.
Yes, and if we don't see you before then, have a Feliz Pascua, which is Happy Easter. Hopefully I said that right.
Very nice. Obrigado, everyone.